dried vegetation, little water, and thin bodies. Feral horses roam on public land that is managed by the Bureau of Land Management. Their numbers are steadily increasing. Feral horses are classified as horses that were once pets or livestock, but have since been turned loose. Subsequent generations of horses born in the wild are still considered feral. The true wild horses come from Mongolia. Feral horses are becoming overcrowded in their current habitat, causing them to spill over onto public farmlands, where much of our locally grown food comes from. Feral horses are also costing taxpayers, that's you, millions of dollars each year for their care and upkeep. They are in need of some help to keep their numbers in check, making it safest for the feral horse population in the long run. But are these feral horses truly a problem? In 2020, Nada Culver from the Bureau of Land Management in Washington stated that as of March 1st, 2020, the BLM estimated more than 95,000 feral horses living on public lands that can sustainably only support 27,000. With all these extra feral horses living on public lands, they create a lot of destruction. All of their stampeding, all of their running around causes unnatural waterways to be formed, causes a lot of the vegetation to be eaten, and causes a lot of destruction that ultimately taxpayers are paying for. In the beginning of 2021, David Stoner from Utah State University's Department of Wildland Resources stated that free-roaming equids, or feral horses, may exhibit short or long-term competitive interactions with native herbivores on three major habitat axes: space, forage, and water. With all of these feral horses living on public lands, they are competing with all of the natural wildlife that is already supposed to be there, such as mule deer, turkeys, and lots of other animals. All these feral horses are causing issues for all of these other native populations. But now that we've kind of discussed why horses are a problem for the environment and why there are too many horses, how does this affect you and why should you care? Feral horses actually cost Utah taxpayers millions and millions of dollars each year. This is because there are already programs in place to help get rid of horses out of the public lands. They send out helicopters, they round them up, and they keep these feral horses in holding corrals, where the horses will live for the remainder of their lives. Each horse, from start to finish of their life, if they live about 25 years, will cost about $50,000 worth of upkeep. This goes for their feed and their vet care, their hoof trimming, and anything else that they may need. This creates a huge tax burden for you. In 2018, according to Melinda Larkin, who is employed by the American Medical Veterinary Association in Nevada, there are currently over 44,000 feral horses that are in holding pens. And when you're spending millions of dollars a year just to feed and do vet work, it impacts a lot of what we do. So we can see that all these horses in these holding pens are not only a problem for all the vets and for all the people and the horse managers, it's a problem for everybody. And this is something that can be solved to an extent. So now that we've discussed how these feral horse populations affect the horses themselves and the taxpayers, there are solutions as to how we can help this problem as a whole. In 2017, John Bartholow from the Wildlife Society of Utah stated that none of the contraceptive options we examined eliminated the need for long-term holding facilities over the 20-year period simulated. But the number of horses held may be reduced by about 17% with contraceptive treatment. So there is one idea to how we can help the overall feral horse population using contraceptive methods, but it really doesn't have that much of an impact. which is why one of the ideas that we are discussing is horse slaughter. And at first, when you hear the word horse slaughter, it might seem kind of gruesome, kind of barbaric, something that you might not be interested in. But horse slaughter could be the means of how we can fix this problem and also help people who are hungry around the world. According to Courtney Daigle in 2011 from Texas A&M University's Animal Science Department, horse slaughter for human consumption should be reinstated in the United States because this change in policy will benefit the economy, the environment, the horse managers, and most importantly, the horses themselves. If horses are processed similar to cattle and sold for human consumption, we can alleviate a lot of the burdens on the environment and a lot of the burdens on taxpayers and a lot of the burdens on horses themselves. It would be amazing if we could take these large numbers of the feral horses that are currently on public lands and help bring that number down. So that way, the horses that can still live out there can live happier lives because they'll have more access to food, they'll have a better environment, they'll have more access to water, and we as people can observe them and watch them live happy lives. So as you've kind of learned about all of this, you probably still have a few questions. You probably have a lot of thoughts running through your head, but I hope that you can kind of start to process this idea of horse slaughter. Feral horses on BLM lands have been an issue for decades. There are 68,000 too many horses roaming the lands, causing destruction, lack of resources, and starving horses. Certain management techniques can be put in place, like horse slaughter, to help ensure the population of feral horses stays at a healthy level. Instead of having 95,000 thin, starving horses on BLM land, wouldn't it be nicer to have 27,000 active, healthy horses on BLM land that we can all watch and observe? I hope that by listening to this speech, you are more accepting about the topic of slaughter as a means to keep the population of feral horses under control. With your acceptance, we can continue to preserve the icons of the American Wild West.